Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for coming to tonight's gallery talk. My name is Elizabeth Ponce and I'm the Public Programs Coordinator here at the List. I'm really excited to welcome you all into Sug Thuy's exhibition, and I'm really excited to welcome our speaker for this evening, Kay Anthony Jones. Kay currently holds an appointment at the Rhode Island School of Design in the Department of Theory and History of Art and Design. And tonight he's going to talk a little bit about his research and about the embrace between biography and art, and as it all relates to Sug's exhibition. So I hope you all enjoy, and we'll take some questions when we resume. But for now, I'll hand it over to Kay.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Hello, good evening. I am Kay Anthony Jones. Perhaps I should describe my own understanding of the topic at hand, the broader confusion between home and the world, a sense of displacement, and how the language of displacement has a deeper connection to the cycle of life and the measure of our lives. I think it is important for me to clarify my own preoccupation with this topic. I don't want to narrow it down, but to illuminate its complexities. My pensiveness is what we call in the field of art history crasis, defined as a detailed description of visual art as a literary device. I should be clear of its limitations to non-Western subjects. This is what I describe as the four walls that assemble the house of postmodernism. I attempt to ascend these calcified and morbid architectures to travel I intend to ascend these calcified and morbid architectures with language to travel, to fly, to journey, to analyze the interiority of the dispossessed that cannot be reached through the methods of typology, formalism, and excessive periodization. By using whatever language is at my disposal as a form of problem solving to interrogate the inscape of those humanity has been denied. In these investigations of the inevitable reach of language, its fabulation, its manipulation, its repetition, its distortion, and its disruption of word work used in structured and conventional ways, and how language is organized to produce works of the imagination. Using these linguistic strategies, I hope to construct and analyze narrative that locates people in space, place, and circumstance, and narrative that produces voice. Through the mimetic, mythical use of language, my ambition is to recover histories otherwise passed over by the written historical record. All of this is what animates my work, but it is not my subject for the evening. My subject for the evening is the impact that expressive language has on the concept of life, and its size and scale as it is lodged in myth as a form of meaning making. My address is the autobiography of a race concept. We can see the embrace of autobiography and art in the work of German Vietnamese artist Song Tieu by exploring the I for the we or they or one as if collective life were inextricably intertwined with a private life. We are able to reconstruct a worldview. Like in Tieu's work, my address focuses on the denial of humanity due to one's positionality in a racially inflected imperial society, and asks, what does it mean to be at the center of civilization and somehow at its periphery? What does it mean not to have a home in this place, to be set adrift from the one you knew, to live on the edge of towns that cannot bear your company? The novelist Michael Adage states, throughout our lives, we keep moving forward, but we keep looking back, returning to the persistent ghost of childhood, that earlier place to which we belong, for better or worse, for the rest of our lives. In turn, how the echoes of knowledge are lodged in memory. What does it mean to suggest that human aerial flight was once possible? I have heard the myth of flying Africans in several slave narratives and interviews in the diaspora. Whether the Africans could fly home or not, Whether they drowned once they encountered a body of water that disrupted takeoff is not certain. It is not certain whether these tales are about survival after death or about the spirit taking flight in hope, despite social oppression. The repeated mystery imagery of flying Africans is interpreted through the children's literature of Virginia Hamilton's The People Could Fly, altering the temporal frame in which the present could be connected to the remnants of the past and to the future through the texture of memory of mythical flight and the powers of the imagination under social distress, and always pointing home. What I present in the following passages is a series of interpretations that attempt to tussle with the myth of flying Africans, as it may represent the exile of the soul set free from the socially constructed exile produced by statist language. In this story, as Hamilton tells it, they say that people could fly. They say long ago that people could walk up on the air like climbing up on a gate, and flew like blackbirds over the fields, black shiny wings flapping against the blue up there. In this short story, the narrator's structure weaves in and out and in between objective descriptions and dialectical phrasing, thus interweaving the written and oral tradition together. In this exposition of the tale, they say that Africans lost their ability to fly once enslaved, and perhaps due to the ingestion of salt, or that their wings were too large to fit on the vessel that brought them to these lands. Over the course of 2 days, this allegory unfolds in the brutal plantation field in an interaction between the unrelenting slaver and the mythical slave Toby, who still knew the ancient lyrics that would conjure the memory of flight, granting fellow slaves in the field their escape routes back home. The lore concludes, they rose on the air, flew in a flock that was black against the heavenly blue, black crows or black shadows. It didn't matter. They went so high, way above the plantation, flew away to freedom. The enslaver could own them physically, but had no control over their spiritual existence. The activation of flight is a metaphor for transcendence of life and for the reach for humanity that has been denied, the soul denied. Long ago, I heard that people could fly. Is a preamble that operates as a memoir with an ambivalent nature to time and fortitude, and the temporal relationship to the self with the past and the alienation from one's land of birth. In this version of the story, as space-time collapses, human aerial flight operates as the loss of memory, the loss of home, the return of memory through language uttered by the character Toby that gifted transcendence to a safe, free return to their homelands and arcing towards a future. Something of the same tale is located in the narrative force and literary imagination of Ralph Ellison's short story, Flying Home, that opens to find the main character, Todd, has crashed in Alabama farmland during a test flight where he was experimenting with the altitudes he could soar and the acceleration of flight. As a result, the plane engine stalled and he lost control of the aircraft and crashed. We learned that the main character had a childhood obsession with flight, as he imagined he could snatch a plane out of the sky. As an adult, he joined the Air Force and becomes an aviator in training during the Second World War. Excuse me. Flight takes on a socially transformative meaning for the racially displaced and their connection with the divine. The story opens with the encounter between Todd and the sharecropper, who find a fallen pilot in the field, who represent the stereotype of a poor, uneducated black person, the stereotype that Todd has worked hard to defy. The narrative exchange between the three explore the configuration of birth, death, heaven, race, and earth. I will recite for you Todd's early memory of flight and his dream life. In the sky, flying quite low, and about 100 yards off was a plane. It came so slowly that it seemed barely to move. My mouth hung wide. My bread and butter fell into the dirt. And I wanted to jump up and down and cheer. And when the idea struck, I trembled with excitement. Some little white boy's plane done flew away, and all I got to do is stretch out my hands and it'll be mine. It was a little plane like that at the fair, flying no higher than the eaves of our roof. Seeing it come steadily forward, I felt the world grow warm and with promise. I opened the screen and climbed over it and clung there waiting. I would catch the plane as it came over and swung down fast and run into the house before anyone could see me. Then no one could come and claim the plane. It drew near. Then when it hung like a silver cross in the blue directly above me, I stretched out my hand and grabbed. It was like sticking my fingers through a soap bubble. The plane flew on as though I simply blew my breath after it. I grabbed again, frantically, trying to catch the tail. My fingers clutched the air, and disappointment surged tight and hard in my throat. Giving one last desperate grasp, I strained forward. My fingers ripped from the screen. I was falling. The ground burst hard against me. I thumbed the earth with my heels, and when my breath returned, I lay there bawling. The narrator's mother carries him inside and calls the doctor the avatar of adjustment to earthly realities. When the doctor came, I heard my mother telling him about the plane and asking if anything was wrong with my mind. He explained that I had a fever for several hours, but I was kept in bed for a week, and I constantly saw the plane in my sleep, flying just beyond my fingertips, sailing so slowly that it seemed barely to move. And each time I reach out to grab it and I'd miss, and through each dream, I hear my grandma warning, young man, your arms are too short to box with God. We can see here the implications of Todd's ambition to transcend gravity, and with it, the mortal realities of the world. His spiritual yearnings are not only to escape the world. His ambition is for flight to bring him closer to humanity and enable him to subvert the world he inhabits. This lore encourages the reader to decode the mythical signs which speak to the social poetics of life. The power of this myth of flying Africans, transformed into fiction, explores the transcendence of the spirit, the striving for humanity, and the bankruptcy of racial oppression. Ellison makes explicit the connection between flight and the denial of home, and the denial of place and the structures of oppression. He captures the way in which racism can divide the unity of the world into false barriers and choices that are no choices at all, leaving no room for humanity, no place for life, and no natural connections between the self and the ground. Let us return to an early account of the narrator in Ellison's prose, describing Todd's social-political course of flight. Between the ignorant black men and the condescending whites, his course of flight seemed mapped by the nature of things away from all needed natural landmarks. The character Todd uses the power of imagination, quasi-actualized as an adult, as a pilot to transcend the worldly reality of the racially oppressed, of his racial oppression. His ascent into the air is both an escape from life-denying structures and a way of finding his place in a different realm where the divisions on the ground and the divisions that take away the very ground beneath one's feet no longer apply. In the traditional African story retold in Virginia Hamilton's The People Could Fly, the ascension from the enslaver grasps through the language of the story merges arcing towards home, creating a realm in language and imagination, and transcends and negates the material realities of the slave economy. The gift of transcendence through voice, unspeakable things unspoken, the sorrow songs within the veil. I'm on my way. Act 3, Scene 3, first sentence spoken by the bass baritone Porgy in the main male protagonist in George and Ira Gershwin's Porgy and Bess. Porgy is later joined in unison with an ensemble chorus with the enunciated lyrics, "Oh Lord, I'm on my way. I'm on my way to a heavenly land. I'll ride that long, long road if you are there to guide my hand." The song itself operates as a bridge as the Negro spiritual and blues infused the opera English libretto written by Ira Gershwin and the novelist Du Bois Hayward that incorporate the voices of the past and the soul of the slave that speaks to humanity, faith in life, faith in death, faith in somewhere beyond the materialities of the social condition. That the soul inhabits the meaning of progress is embedded in the lyrics, cheering the heavenly traveler along the weary way. Long ago, I heard that people could fly. Whether they sunk to the bottom of the ocean, or if they flew home, or if they reached heaven is uncertain. But what I do know is that the relationship between knowledge and wisdom presents a danger if we have one without the other. If we use knowledge to construct worlds lacking of wisdom in humanity was refused to some. The free world denied them a place, leaving those on the outside wandering in the wilderness. Language, in all its intangibility, despite its lack of physical place, gave the enslaved and once freed person the heart of a human. We die, that may be the meaning of life, but we do language, that may be the measure of our lives. Thank you.